Welcome back, boys and girls. In this video, episode number 4 of Identity and Martin integration, we're going to do a little bit of everything. We're still going to continue developing it. We'll write a little bit of code, a little bit of test, and then we're going to add a build pipeline and a process where we will have to submit a pull request into main rather than just pushing onto main. This is a pretty well-known process that if you're running a team or anything, or you have a disorganized way of submitting changes into your code base, you can take this and effectively bring a little bit more control over it. So anyway, if you're enjoying the series video, if you're learning stuff, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comment section. Source code is in the description, as well as links to my course and Patreon. Go ahead and check those out. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. We have our library over here, and one of the main things that we have left out, let's take this user store and bring it out into its own file. We have left out this role manager integration. So this is the Martin user store, mock role store. Let's say that this is going to be Martin role store, and we are going to place this here. Take this out into its own file. So we will do an implementation for this. It shouldn't take a long time at all. And then we're going to write some tests for it, as I said in the beginning, and then we're going to add a workflow for it. So let's try to zoom through this. We can probably take a lot of the stuff that we have been putting into the Martin store. First of all, the injection of our iDocument session. We can take the constructor name and update it, make sure we got all the correct imports. So dispose doesn't really do anything. We can leave this method over here, create a sync. We can probably lift most of the code from here, and maybe, I don't know if it's interesting or not, let's first sort this out. So the name, we're gonna go store the role. We'll have to make this asynchronous. And that's pretty much it. Now, on the builder extensions, when we're registering the type, something that we're not doing, which you should be doing with Martin, is telling Martin what kind of documents you're going to be storing. So maybe we'll do that at some point, but for now, for development, we can say that Martin will figure out these entities and will create tables for them. Moving on to update async, let's have a look at this here. Probably copy most of this stuff over. Again, a user just gets replaced with a role. And seeing as this stuff can be pretty boring to look at, I'll put timestamps in the description so you can perhaps skip to the relevant part. Copy this across, place this here. We want to, I think, was it delete? Yep, it was delete. Make this asynchronous. Then we want to get role ID. Task from the result, so this was pretty simple. Task from result, role name as well, pretty self-explanatory. Here we will have to, I guess, query first and then update it. I don't know if it's like an in place. Are we just updating the role name? That looks a little bit weird, but let's go ahead and we will load async. This is going to be identity role, and on the role we should have the identifier. This will be the role record. Let's grab the name, put it over here, and this is assuming that the role record is actually present. So if the role record is null, we can go ahead and return task, or just passing a cancellation token over here. Throw a new not found exception. Maybe have a custom exception at some point, but for now we can just throw an exception, maybe an invalid operation exception, and say something like role with ID of doesn't exist. Slap role ID in here. Go to document session, store role record, and that should be pretty much it. Nothing gets returned over here and formatted. So yeah, one confusion I have is, do I need to query for a role record? Like, what's the expectation of this method, right? What's the expectation of this contract? So maybe we can go on to the interface and get a little bit more information on this. So let's say set a role name, sets the name of a role in the store as an asynchronous operation. The role whose name should be set, the name of the role. So is it a combined operation where we already have the role and we just have to update it and store it? I feel like that's the expected behavior here. These were so short, I was thinking there for a second, I skipped them. But anyway, let's not query this. The role already exists, and instead of this, we'll just do something like that, right? Get normalized role name. So task from picking all the wrong options on the role. There should be a normalized name. Yep. Set normalized role name. Pretty sure we can do that. So normalized role name, normalized name, make this asynchronous, find by ID async, paste the whole thing here, and just double check the role ID is not null or empty. All this thing can actually get replaced, and await on document load async. We actually just had this logic, and we'll place a role ID in here. Okay, make this asynchronous. And don't forget the cancellation token. Find by name. That's another good one, I guess. I mean, all of these are pretty straightforward. So check if that is null. Load async, we will not be able to do that. We want to be able to query. Remove all of this stuff, and aware or first or default async. We don't need to supply this. We need to supply a query. Normalized role name. So normalized name equals normalized role name. Cool. Wait, and that is pretty much it. And we pass the cancellation token over here. Have a quick little glance here. Looks like all of this is working. So we've effectively added new functionality over here, and we've edited the code a little bit. We've also registered this IRoleStore behind the IRoleStore of identity role interface, okay? Our two stores exist. One thing that perhaps isn't being done very well here is the generic implementation. So this assumes that the role type is identity role. So let's actually change it to trole. Trole inherits from identity role. Okay, we will then pass it on to here, and for the rest of the occurrences and one more, we should be using trole. All right, I think that's it right there. I'm just noticing that this is user store type, not user type. We then want to make a, let's remove, actually, we'll just take the type here and remove the rest. So type of IUserStore, not supply the generic type, and make the generic type identity builder role type right there. And then we want to do effectively the same, but with this Martin store type. So Martin user store, in our case, it was just Martin role store. I'm gonna place this over here, and we're gonna have the same generic type over here for getting the dot semicolon on here. And is it complaining that a role type is potentially null? So if role type is potentially null, we can take the same assertion over here. Or is it, do we take the same assertion, or do we say if identity builder role type doesn't equal null? Oh, didn't mean to go there. We register this here. Okay, I think this looks a little bit more reasonable. I vaguely remember why this would be the case, but yeah, I mean, if it can be null, it can be null. Chances are it's not going to be null. On this, I'll just slap this onto the new lines. Why not? Make this pretty. I know some of my viewers would say, man, this is light mode, this can be pretty. Okay, relax, buddy. We got the thing. Let's go ahead and test it, right? So IRoleStore, where is that being used? A role manager. We are gonna go into program.cs. For some reason, I am not getting a package. I'm pretty sure I added it here, or should it be added by proxy here? Yeah, it should be. Not to threat. Not sure why I have so many windows open. Let's just close them all and .NET build the mockup. And there we have it. So for local development, the double curly brace version is not a good parameter. Let's see if it likes this. Still doesn't. I don't know if we can, I don't know, do something crazy like this. Probably not. So let's do insert version here. Probably still not going to like that because it's going to do a little bit of validation. It's not a valid version string. Okay, listen here, buddy. Let's try this. And there we go. Okay. So that builds. Now, one thing that we're going to need to do is in here amend the templating. So where we are using sed, instead of this version, we're going to find this string and replace it with whatever the ref name is. All right. So we've updated that. Unknowingly, basically broke it for local development. Anyway, that is done. And we're going to do stuff in our mock application. Effectively want to do something like add administrator or add admin. Maybe add admin role. And if we actually add an admin role using the role manager, let's check identity role, our manager. We'll grab this and let's create a sync, new identity role name, admin. Semicolon here, var result. We can then try to assign this role to a user. So I think we're gonna need to have a user manager for this. Let's remove the parameter user manager. So add or set admin role, get role, remove, add to role async. Cool. So which user are we adding? First of all, we will need to find our user. And we could repurpose Bob over here, so we can trigger this endpoint first and then set it as admin, but you know that can lead to crashes between tests if we reuse this for other tests. Effectively, this is kind of going to be like... Actually, with this one, I feel like I'm going a little bit overboard. There are things that I can do with this test that may be a little bit better. For now, let's just say that I want to test this admin role creation, and I'll just be happy with that. Even, is it gonna be admin? Let's pass a, let's say, a string, a name, and this is going to be the name of the role that we're going to create. All right. So coming back to over here, create and read user. That is not what we wanna do. Let's say we wanna create and read role. So add admin role, and then we want to grab the role. So in the role manager, we want to find by name, just put the name over here, role, slap the role on there, super simple, create and read role, and this is not really admin role since I changed it to the GUID. This is add role, so we add role with a question mark of test role. I think that's appropriate. And then we want to do the same here. So actually didn't give this a key. So I set it to name, and then I want to query it by name. It's probably a good idea to do the same here. Setting the parameter here and there, but nevertheless, let's go ahead and see how this fares. Getting a really cool build error. So let's just go ahead and .NET build, see what happens there. It looks like it does build .NET test. Let's see if it runs from the command line. If it does, it does. If it don't, well, we'll have to take a look. Looks like we have one failed, two passed. Let's have a look here. This was some setup logic that ran over there, and here we have duplicate key value violates unique key constraint, empty doc identity role ID included in error. Okay. Let me try run it like this again. I will debug. Okay, cool. So still getting an exception, which is absolutely fine. I'm gonna place a breakpoint over here and debug it, and yeah, I mean, standard procedure from here. Let's have a look at what happens when we try to create a role. So we have an identifier, which is pretty much an incoherent. Well, it's a GUID. What are you gonna do? It's like, you know, we step over. This is where the exception is thrown. That's fine. Let's check out the logic in here. So throw disposed, configured task. What do we have over here? Role equals null, doesn't equal null. Validate role async, configure await false. Okay, whatever this is doing. This role manager, validator, boom. Nothing interesting going on over here other than we are potentially getting the role. Going back here, so update normalized role name async is happening before we create async. So potentially we're storing the same thing twice. Let's stop the debugger over here, and the role manager that got decompiled. This is no, sorry, still the same role manager. So update normalized role name. So let's have a look at what this is doing. So get role name. This is key. This normalized key. Key normalizer. Okay, so there's some other crazy service that does the normalization. The more you know. Basically, my takeaway here is that when I was doing set role name async, and when we're doing set normalized name async, you don't need to be asynchronous. Okay, we are just going to return task, completed task. Not as exactly, well, for stuff like this, you definitely want to keep your doors open on the interface and just put task here, just in case, right? That is it there, I think. Let's go ahead and run. And sure enough, it's passing. Okay. So tests, no matter how obvious, you know, are worth running. One thing I want to make an amendment is get user over here. So integrations, when I query it, I want to place a user over here. Now, another thing that I want to do, and by the way, using this, I do verify that the role manager is being constructed by just being able to do this registration, right? So that's the only reason to place this sort of test here. The test that I wanted to place over here is creating a user and adding the user to the role. Can be a little bit more involved, and we can create effectively its own little scenario because it is still an integration test. So let's add a class, and we'll say add a role to user. Just like that. This can be an integration test, and what I'm going to do is also inherit from asynchronous lifetime. All right. The reason I'm inheriting from asynchronous lifetime is I can do some setup, and I mean, is it properly? I don't know if to say correct. Should you be inheriting from asynchronous lifetime? Maybe if you're going to reuse the setup amongst many tests. I guess I'm not going to be doing that just yet. Let's go ahead and say add role to user, and can protect. I want to say can protect endpoint, but that might be a little bit too much to do at this point. So let's actually condense this. So can add a role to user. Actually backtrack on the name and call this a user and role integration tests. So user and role integration test because there might be a service in between. That might require this stuff. So services, get required service. We wanted to have a role manager, identity role, and then we also wanted to have a user manager. This is going to be an identity user. So let's get our role manager over here and user manager over here. Using the role manager, we're going to create a new role, and this is going to be, let's say, a role name GUID to what? To string, right? Probably the most common operation. Let's go await on this. There is going to be a create role result. We will make this asynchronous and assert true, create role result, succeeded, right? That should succeed. We then have a user manager, and this is all kind of a setup at this point. We want to create a new identity user. We'll let's say set the email good new GUID at test.com. What else is new? And username, another GUID. A semicolon in the end here, var not car. Don't delete the whole line, holy camole. Create user result, miss one letter, don't forget to await this. Format, and we can assert the same thing over here. Create user result. Obviously pick the wrong one first, otherwise you're gonna have bad luck. We will then want to take the user manager and add role set add role async. For this, what I'm actually gonna do is take the identity user. I'm gonna take the user out here, like that. We're going to create the user here, and we're gonna put the user here, and role name goes here. Wait, and I think this is gonna be one of those add to role result where it depends on a specific interface. So add to role result succeeded. We want to assert true right over here, and maybe a little bit of validation. So user manager, again, role, get roles async for user, var get roles result, await on this, and we can assert a single get roles result, var assigned role, and then take the assigned role, and we can, where is the name? Did it not grab the single one for me? It's just a string. So assert equal, we have the role name and assigned role. All right, so here's the test. I am expecting to fail on this point over here. Let's go ahead and run. And there we have it. So we're not implementing this particular interface on the user manager. So the user store, sorry, not the user manager, on the IUser-store. So let's quickly have a look at Martin user store. See what will this take to add. So to user, let's go ahead and implement members. So add to role, remove from role, get roles is in role async, and get users in role. This is, well, could be fairly simple and will require us to create some kind of entity to hold the relationship. This is effectively a many-to-many situation. So we will introduce a class, and what do we call it? A user role, right? How much more simpler can it get? We want, let's say, a prop of string, or, and because this is going to be T key for the user, if I can spell T key correctly, we will say that this is user ID, and we will then have string role ID. So once we have something like that, add to role async. When we're adding this role, we really want to verify that this role actually exists. So let's inject the IRoleStore service into here, and we are going to have a holy camole, a T role. This is why the T role was needed there from the beginning. So we can say where T role is identity role. There we have it. IRoleStore, we are going to pass a T role in here, and this is going to be a role store. All right, we are going to set this over here. Let's not forget, where did I do the extensions? So we have the role store with identity role, and the IUser-store that also implements that other interface, because now we have to supply multiple arguments. T-role is second, so I'm gonna place this over here, and let's just say, let's leave the warning there. We want to handle it gracefully potentially later, but this is just what it is right now, and I'm actually gonna remove this if statement and do the same. For now, you have to specify a role. All right, those are going to be the rules. Now back to the Martin user store. We're gonna take the role store all the way to the bottom here, where we add the role. So we will have a, let's place the role store over here. Throw argument null exceptions for user, and we can do the same for role name. I'm not sure what happened to my cursor over there, but let's get, nope, it is a find by name. We put a role name over here, or is it correct? Find by name, normalized name, and cancellation token. Okay, we have to pass the cancellation token. A role equals await. Let's make this asynchronous. And this is going to be if role equals null. We want to throw a exception. So throw a new exception. Role with name of role name not found. Boom, there you go. If this role has been found, we go to the document session and we store a new, what type did we just create? User role with a T key. This is going to be T key over here. You have the user ID, which is the user ID. Look at how these pieces fit together, right? Role ID. All right, there we go. And obviously save the thing. Save changes async. Bada bang, bada boom. If I actually manage to hit the keys and pass cancellation token, there we go. Very nice. Format this a little bit. So add to role. Let's copy this. I have a feeling we're gonna need this in a couple of places. Remove from role async. So let's just double check that a role with the name of role name not found. So we have the exact same check. Once we have that, we can go to role store or maybe even document store and query a user role. Is that what it is? A user role? Can't remember what kind of malarkey we're gonna have to be doing over here with this T key. Pretty much, I think just this query that we figured out over there. So query where a user role, user ID, is that, wait, hold up. AUR, it was on X again, sorry, AUR, come back to this character over here. And the ID, so user ID matches SQL. Is this even correct? A user ID, I think just call it on this and you can supply user over here. Perfect. And in addition, we can take the role ID and assign it to the role ID over here. All right, there we go. This can be actually first or default async. Don't put these over here, don't put this over here, none of that. The rare times IntelliSense in Writer is actually not enjoyable. All right, so we got the query. This is going to be a user role that we managed to find. If user role equals null, we're going to return, let's just return here. Maybe throw an exception here later that the user is not in role, so we remove it, or we just say, role's not there, it's removed, right? Otherwise, document session, we will call remove, delete. I keep forgetting, is it remove, is it delete? It's different every single provider you use. So there we have it. Just go ahead and remove it. One thing here is with this user role that we will need to create is we will actually want a good, let's do int ID. I think that will be all right there. Cool. Hiding the file system because it is, well, is it getting in the way? I don't know. Get roles for user. How do we do it? Is it actually possible? Martin is a document database. How can you do includes in Martin? Well, relatively simple, right? You just say that on the role ID, you want to include this entity, and maybe the slightly awkward part is let's say user role, t key. Not sure what's going on with the variable over here. It's a, you know, if you've never tried to narrate and type code, it's not the easiest thing to do, right? So add range, or is it just add element to the list? Yes, it is. With this, actually, I think in latest .NET, there is an optimization where it doesn't wrap, when you're passing a lambda like this, it doesn't wrap it in another lambda. So this is actually okay to do. So all the user roles are going to be stored in here, which are relating to this user. Actually, what am I doing? This is meant to be a list of, oh, I removed the multi-cursor, just identity role, just like that. Okay, and those are the things that we're going to be querying. So the things that we're adding based on role ID, we're going to be getting them and putting them here. Okay, do we want to list this? We do. So if we first async, I think that's the only thing that's going to be included. Otherwise, if we to list async, keeps taking the wrong one. I don't want that. I will take the thing over here. And I will need to place it in a where clause, maybe over here. Yeah, that's fine. So user role or user roles. This is just roles. User roles. Actually, don't care about those. So what I'm gonna do is discard them. What I'm really after is this stuff that gets aggregated into here. Once we got all of that, let's return roles select and just the name and to list. There we go. And the nullability warning, let's just shut it up, right? I mean, it shouldn't have nulls in this position, all right? Next, we have is in role. Okay, I think with what we've currently experienced, should be a little bit different, or maybe a little bit simpler. Rather than first or default, we can still do first or default. Any async might be better, and just return over here. Don't need to save anything, and perhaps not throw here, because we're not really trying to add anything. If this role doesn't exist, then I mean, he's not gonna, the user is not going to be in that role. All right. Get user in role async, or get users in role async. Okay, so this will be, let's just take this big thing because it kind of has everything in it. So we have users, and actually let's take this include over here. We have a list of T users. We don't do any of that. We will do this, and instead of where you are matches, because role ID is a very known type, we can do role ID, and instead of identity role over here, do user, where's it, T user, there we go, based on role ID, not that, based on user ID, add it to the users. Okay, I think we can actually just return that. All right, users is not going to be found here. So this kind of integration, perhaps, you know, over time, if this is ever a serious thing, I should be testing every single one of these. There is a thing here that perhaps I'm not this is not needed, because this is an IRoleStore, which I guess is fine. And maybe that's why it was implementing one method. Actually, I can't remember anything about that. Anyway, looks like we implemented some methods. Let's go ahead and see if it still works. So the role name query started failing, interestingly, and this one add to role. So this is quite a lengthy error. Where did this exception happen exactly? Line 204. Okay, user ID. Yeah. So it's not a very good parameter over here. We are passing in user. So let's apply the T key over here, rerun the test, see if that works. Another not natively supported exception, line 184. I'm doing the exact same mistake over here, and I'm not going to be surprised if I am doing it somewhere over here. No, role ID, I changed it because I said it was actually a sane change. All right. Interesting that it invokes one method after the other. I'm already querying things like 10 times. I'm not, this doesn't seem too efficient. All right. Anyway, let's rerun the whole thing. I'm interested why the create and read role has failed. Okay, pretty sure that was passing before. Here we have add name test. Okay, so I haven't actually changed this. So I don't know how that was passing before. And there we go. Okay, so I think after I why did I close that? After I've added the user/user over here, it actually broke this. So again, so once this is all ran, now it's all passing. Perfect. Okay, so let's do this. I will take all of this and say, cool, we have role, manager, integration, commit, perfect. We can push this for now. It's not really going to do anything. What I wanted to do now is show how to effectively build up a pipeline for testing. So with a pipeline for publishing packages, it's a little bit harder. This is going to be a build and test, potentially miles simpler. Okay, so we check out this version, we pack and publish. We still need to check out our repository. Push we want to do on pull request, and look at this. A writer IntelliSense already knows what to write here. Incredible. Crazy. Now, what do we actually want to do? We want to make sure that everything is building and running, because we are going to be in the solution in our base repository over here. What we want to do is run .NET restore first, all projects restore. Let's go ahead, slide this down here. I will, let's get rid of maybe about yay much. Restore, super simple. Put this over here, .NET restore. We can then run a build, and when we're running build, .NET build, it's going to build all of the projects. We can specify a flag though, no restore, so it's not going to run packages. And this is where I was talking, I think in the previous episode, that you can do these granular steps. Well, now we're actually doing them. And once we have build and we know that everything builds, we can actually run our tests. To run our tests, we can specify no build. I think it is. We can run .NET test, and so if we come back to the terminal, .NET test -- help. We have I should have a configuration path somewhere over here. I think it should be, or maybe -p. Can't see it. Let's do this .NET test, and looks like it actually managed to pick up the test directory, no problem. So we can run this command and see what happens. So let's say we are going to actually put this on a new branch. So let's do this. Git checkout -b feature PR build. We'll do a git push. We'll need to set upstream. So the thing is there. Let's add the workflow. Get this pushed. And there we have it. So now over here, we're going to compare and pull request workflow. Let's go ahead and test. And by the way, you see how I managed to just push to main before. Let's actually quickly disable that. So if we go into branches, add branch protection rule, let's take a look at main, quickly bypass the verification. So require a pull request before merging. So require approvals is 1. Require review from code owner, so that will be myself. And request who can push to matching branches. Actually read the wrong one, so sorry. Do not allow bypassing the above settings. So it kind of just forces you to go through this. All right, so let's go ahead and save changes. Now I myself won't be able to push to main. All right, so the main branch is protected. So anyway, pull requests, let's go ahead and set this up. A workflow test, whatever information you should be filling out here for your team. I'm not doing it. So let's go ahead and just do this. So because there is a workflow in that PR, you can see that it is running for that PR. It is called publish. So publish a NuGet package, and the name is build and test. This should be build and test project or solution, something like this. Build and test package. I mean, let's get a package consistency. Build and test package. Maybe at the end add a step where we pack it, but there we have it. So let's see if it fails in any way. One thing that could potentially, and this is something that's amazing, you can see that Docker is already present, and the container images are already present there. Okay, you didn't have to wait an insane amount of time for it to download the containers. They're just there, and the test is just passing. All right, pretty amazing times, right? Kind of insane, bonkers, if I may say so myself. So let's say pipeline fixes like that. All right. So what do we have over here? The build test. You can see we need a required review. Even I can't bypass this, what's it called, rule over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna relax the rules for myself. I can go into branches, and we can do a couple of things here. So at the bottom over here, this is what prevents me from what's called bypassing those settings and effectively approving my own PR, or just merging without approvals. Here I'm just gonna say, look, yeah, I can do whatever I want. This is my repository, right? So one thing or another thing that you can add here is require deployments to succeed before merging, or sorry, require status checks to pass before merging. So here we can grab the build and test GitHub action right there. With that, let's go ahead and save changes. Now on the pull request over here, if we take a look, you will see that this check over here is passing. So this is something that will effectively run every single time and will require to be passed before you're merging. Again, it's, well, one of those rules. So merge pull request, you can see it's all red because you know, I am bypassing the rules. So it's like, don't do it, it's dangerous, but you know, we know what we're doing over here. Anyway, this was pretty much it for the video and what I wanted to show. Implementing a little bit of functionality, testing, a little bit of back and forth, and slightly improving on the process of getting your changes into the repository and making sure that those changes aren't, you know, causing any breakages or anything like that. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comment section. Again, don't forget to check out the description. The source code is available. If you really enjoy my work and would like to get the source code for all of my previous videos, please come support me on Patreon. I will be very grateful, and a big and special thank you goes out to all of my current Patreon supporters. You help me make these videos. As always, thank you for watching. Have a good day.